The content of this podcast does not represent the views of Missouri Southern State University. Hey guys, welcome back to Real Life Experiences podcast. My name is Megan.
My name is Allie.
Today we're going to be interviewing Zoe German on her life and future career. Zoe, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Zoe, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, like I said, my name's Zoe. I am a criminal justice major, and I am the current president of CJSA, Criminal Justice Student Association.
Period.
And I graduate in May 10th. So excited. Yay. I only went to school here for 3 years. Worked so hard to graduate in 3 years. Because I only came in with 9 credits.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, from high school. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be here longer than I have to be. So I did that. And I'm 21.
What do you want to do after you graduate job-wise?
Well, currently, I work at the Cass County Sheriff's Office. I got that job. Well, I started as an intern in high school my last semester. And I've just kind of worked there ever since they decided to hire me on as a part-time so I get to create my own schedule and everything and still work in the jail. And I think about a year-ish, a little over a year after I started, they decided to open up the special teams to part-time people. So I joined the CSI team because I do enjoy doing that. I don't think I could do it as a full-time job. That's just a lot. Mm-hmm. But it is a different change to go through. But it was really fun. So after I graduate, got a busy schedule.
Yeah.
So after we get back from Sweden, I'll transfer to full-time working in the jail. And then after I switch to part-time, I'm going to the police academy starting July 14th.
Nice.
So if anybody wants to work for Cass County, you can come join the police academy with me.
Oh my God.
Oh, yay.
Okay.
And then my current job title technically is control room operator. But recently I've been working on the floor more, just to gain more experience before I go to the academy.
What does that entail? Like when you work on the floor, what does that mean?
So instead of being in the control room, I'm walking around the jail, talking to inmates face to face, doing all of just like the smaller daily tasks like laundry, feeding them.
So you're their mother.
Basically,
Okay.
Glorified babysitter is what I like to say. I actually love my job, even though sometimes it could be a little stressful or annoying, or just sometimes there's bad days, sometimes there's really good days. But overall, I really like my job. And if it came down to it, I would definitely work in corrections.
Going back to the police academy, what are you most looking forward to with training at the police academy?
I mean, I kind of did a little bit of that in high school. In high school, I went to a tech school. And so Monday through Friday for 3 hours, I was in a classroom with a former officer who was the instructor, Officer Kelly. Love her.
Shout out.
She taught a lot. So we did like building searches, how to deal with people with mental disabilities, how to deal with basically anything and everything that you can think of. So I know a little bit, but I would like to learn more in depth on how to do those things. And I know that's a couple of the things that we do.
Okay, Zoe, what made you want to be a control room operator?
So that's a good question. I didn't really know what I was signing up for originally. But when our lieutenant came and talked to my class at my tech school at the Cass Career Center, he said that they were starting out a brand new internship that they have never tried before. And I was like, oh, that would be like a good step in the door. Like, I'll think about it. Probably won't go for it. I had a job at the time. I was a hostess. was like, maybe. So I went home and I told my parents about it. They always ask how my day is and everything. So I was telling them like about the internship and everything. And my dad was basically jumping up and down. He was like, oh, you have to go for this. This is so exciting. And so I was like, I don't know. Should I not? I'll apply and see what happens. Mm-hmm. So I applied and I get an email back and they're like, we need you to take the aptitude test. And if you don't know what the aptitude test is, it's a written test to see like where you are basically. And it's a pass or fail. So either you pass it or you fail it. And there's a math portion, a reading portion, a grammar portion, and like a report writing portion. I apparently aced it because I was in there with 3 other people, so there's 4 of us total. And 2 of us passed, 2 of us failed. So after I did that, I passed the test, and they were like, great, we'd love to have you meet the sheriff, and then we'll get you started working in January. So I met the sheriff. We did like a tour of the jail. They still didn't really tell me a whole lot of what I was going to be doing. Just showed up one day. Yep. And they were like, okay, be here at this day. And I was like, okay.
That sounds about good. Right.
Right? So I filled out like, all of the paperwork and everything, showed up, and they sat me down in this control room with about 13 different screens, cameras on all of them. And then they had like different monitors and things and computers and programs. And I was like, I walked in and I was like, what is going on? This is crazy. And they're like, okay, you're going to be in here. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And I sat down with Detective Fox. Love her. And she taught me everything that I needed to know. And I was in training technically for 4 months because as an intern in high school, you can't be alone by yourself. But I'd say about after 2.5 months, I had it pretty down pat. And so basically I was doing all of it, and Detective Fox was just kind of sitting back and making sure and correcting things that needed to be corrected and stuff like that. And so I've been doing that ever since until about a month ago is when I started working on the floor more. So we have had several interns since then. Got promoted to like part-time, which included a pay bump, which was nice.
Yes.
And then started working on the floor. So I was doing some of the smaller things, getting things for inmates, doing book pass, doing meal pass, doing just some of the smaller things. So yeah.
What's book pass?
Library pass. So like they go around and they get books.
Oh, that's nice.
Doesn't happen too terribly often. I wish we had more staff so it could happen more often. And I kind of wish the inmates appreciated it a little more because they ask for it constantly, and then you give them a book and they shred it.
What the?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So we're working on like setting up. It's a work in progress, but we're working on setting up like an actual library where they can scan the barcode and actually check it out. That way, if it comes back damaged in any sort of way, we can charge them for it.
Do you prefer to work on the floor or behind the scenes?
It kind of depends on my mood, but I've been enjoying working on the floor more because it's a different pace. Because I've been there since 2022, so 3 years, a little over 3 years now. So for 3 years, almost every shift I worked, minus a couple, I was in the control room, running the doors, running the intercoms, answering phones, doing all the watches and watching the cameras and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a different change of pace, and it's really nice.
Lots of multitasking.
Very, very.
That's
it's a little bit of a struggle, and I do forget some things sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. But I got it pretty down.
Yeah,
so.
And that's a great experience, especially like starting in high school. That's really awesome. Do you have any interesting stories from working at the jail?
Yeah, I have 2 good stories if you'd like to hear them.
Yes, ma'am.
So the first one, we're going to go way back when I started my college career. It was like a week before I was supposed to move to college. I was working one of my last couple of shifts. And for whatever reason, I don't remember at this point in time, but for whatever reason, there was an entire block lockdown. So there's so many blocks, and they each have a group of inmates in them. And this was one of the max security blocks. And they were locked down for the whole day, so meaning they had to stay in their cells. They couldn't come out into the day room. And when I asked my supervisor how we wanted to do hour outs, so for context, hour outs, when an inmate is locked in their cell for 24 hours or more, they are required to have an hour out with good behavior. There are exceptions to that law, but usually it's just exigent circumstances. But so when I asked my supervisor how she wanted to do hour outs, she said to let them all come out for half an hour at lunch, and then they'd lock back down, and then at dinner, they'd all come back out for another half hour to equal that 1 full hour. And I was like, I don't think they're going to like that, but you're my supervisor, and I have to listen to you. So I did that. So they came out for 30 minutes at lunch, and some of them took a shower, ate their lunch, kind of walked around. When that 30-ish minutes was up, I think I even gave them a little bit more time, but when that 30 minutes was up, I was like, all right, guys, gotta lock back down, go back to your cells. And they did not like that. So they were real mad, and they decided that they were going to, all of them were going to refuse to lock down. So I called my supervisor, was like, hey, you might want to come back here and try to get them to lock down because they are not locking down. And we need your help. So she comes back there with one other deputy, and she's like trying to talk them down, which we are taught to use your voice first, and then if it has to go hands-on, then it goes hands-on. So she was trying to calm them all down, explain the situation. They were not having it. So we had more deputies come back. Power in numbers.
Oh, brother.
Yeah. So they still didn't want to listen. And so my master sergeant came back with the pepper ball gun. And a pepper ball gun is a pressurized gun that has little balls in it. It's non-lethal. But it has little balls in it covered in pepper spray or OC spray. And he came back there, threatened them with that, still refusing. So we closed the door, opened up the chow hatch, which is like a little cutout in the door where we feed them through, and proceeded to fire several rounds in there. They didn't like it, but they still refused to go back to their cells. I believe several more rounds went off. I was over 50. Wow. I think we lost count after that. They still refused to lock down at that point and started using their mats as shields. So we took the fog machine, which is a giant bottle of OC spray. And when you pull the pin out, pull the trigger, it's just like a fog of OC spray that goes everywhere.
Oh my God.
So we had to go in through a side door, spray them with the OC spray, the fog machine. They finally gave up after that. They were like, we can't breathe. So that was a fun day. So all that happened. All the lieutenants came down and were standing next to me. And it was really stressful because I was like, what if I don't do the right thing and they're right next to me? It was so stressful. And I had been there for about 8 months at that point. So still kind of new to this whole thing. And then I think a captain even came down. And I was like, oh my God, this is so stressful. Like, it was so stressful for me. Mm-hmm. They were spraying so much pepper spray that day that in the area that I was, it's basically an enclosed room with a little tray in the window area for me to like slide things through, or for them to give me letters to send out or whatever they need to put in there. It started coming through that, down the hallway, through 2 closed doors, down the hallway and into where I was. And I started coughing. That's how much pepper spray was sprayed. So I can't imagine what it was like in that area. I had to put a t-shirt in the little window thing so I could breathe to do my job. Yeah. So that was a fun day.
Dude, they were so persistent.
They were very persistent. We haven't really had anything crazy like happen like that since.
They learned.
Most of them are gone though.
Oh, okay.
So
How many inmates would you say were in that block at that time?
it was somewhere between 13 and 16, I want to say. Because there's 8 cells in there, and it's 2 people per cell, but I don't think it was full at the time. So somewhere between 13 and 16.
That's still a lot.
Yeah. Some of them gave up a long time before that, but we couldn't open the door to let them out until everybody gave up. So it was kind of rough for a couple people. We did have to escort every single one of them up into the Sally Port. The Sally Port is where the cars drive through to drop off inmates for us to book in. We had to take them up to the Sally Port. It's a giant garage, basically, attached to hose, and we had to hose them all down.
Oh my gosh.
And then we had to put each individual person in a booking cell. And it was really awkward for me to leave that day because every single one of them was up there right as I was walking past them. They wanted to make comments. My second story.
Okay.
This was a little bit more recently. So it was a couple weeks ago. Basically, this guy in our jail who's an inmate has had several behavioral issues since he's been with us, and he's been with us for I don't even know how long at this point. He's always there, I swear to God. But he has a lot of behavioral issues and doesn't like to listen. And he had gotten into a fight with another inmate a couple days prior, and that inmate finally came forward and was like, hey, this happened. So we investigated it, rewind the cameras and everything, saw, yep, there was a fight. There was no way for the people watching the cameras at the time to see that because it was in such of like a corner and in a cell, and based on where the camera is, there was just no way to see it, and we couldn't even see it on the rewind. We just saw shadows. So again, there was no reason for us to see that. But so we went back there to move him from where he was to a different area of the jail. And he started out acting all calm and everything, started packing his belongings to be moved. And then we opened up the door because we thought he was ready, and he laid out his thermal shirt and then tied it around his head like he does every time he's about to fight us. And took off his socks so he had more grip. And then came out launching at one of the deputies, got him good. There was five deputies and me, and I was the door holder. I have been the professional door holder this past month for anything that has gone wrong.
She's good at what she does.
I am, because I'm not equipped currently with anything.
Yeah.
I get lucky if I have a radio and a set of keys. Half the time, I either have one or the other or none. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any weapons on me, just my hands.
Yeah.
So if anything goes down, I'm just like, I'm going to let you guys deal with that one. I don't have anything to help with. Yeah. If it came down to it, though, I would go hand to hand. But if I can avoid it, I would. Yeah. But anyways, so they got him on the ground. I think they tased him 3, maybe 4 times. He was still being combative, trying to headbutt people, just flailing around like a fish. Okay? And so they yelled at me to go get the wrap. And that is the technical name for it, I just would like to say. But basically, it makes you into a burrito. You tie it around their legs, and it keeps their legs together. And then you tie it around their upper body. and then you hook the upper body to the legs. So they're sitting up, like in an upright position, and can't move except for maybe rolling side to side. So I had to go get that, and I ran. I'm not a runner. But I got it pretty quickly. I was pretty proud of myself. It was the adrenaline.
Yeah.
But so I ran and got him to him, and then they were like, "Oh, we need the cart that goes with this so we can get him up to where we're supposed to be putting him." And I was like, "Oh, you should have said that the first time." So I went back up to the booking area, got the cart, came back. He was still being combative, ish. Although he couldn't really do much at the point, so he wasn't being that combative. So I brought the cart back, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, hi, Miss German." And I just looked at him. I know the listeners can't see me, but I looked at him with the most blank, "Are you serious?" stare. It was not great. And then he stayed in that for several hours because every time we would go to, let him out and get him put where he needs to be put, he would try to fight us again. So he stayed in that for several hours. We had to keep checking his capillary refills. So when you press down on the skin, making sure the blood refills back into that spot. Kind of like you would do in death investigations.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a fun day. And then every other inmate in the facility is like, "Oh, can we get books? Can we get nail clippers? Are we going to do haircuts today? I need toilet paper." And I'm like, I don't have time for this right now. But yeah, it was a fun day.
Sounds fun.
Very intense.
I think I was out of breath for like 30 minutes afterwards. I did a lot of running.
Do you do anything else at the sheriff's office?
Yes, I am on the CSI team. So the way that special teams works at the sheriff's office is you have your primary position. So my primary position is control room operator. And then you have a secondary position. So that's the special teams. And then it's based on call outs. So if I get called out, I would respond, assuming that I had enough coverage. Most of the time I do. Mm-hmm. The job itself, like the control room operator job, is important, but there's plenty of us. So I pretty much always have coverage. Either that or I'm off, and I can just respond to the scene. I don't have to worry about coverage. Yeah, I work in their crime scene unit as a crime scene technician.
What was the CSI training like?
So we had 2 major trainings to get certificates. I joined the CSI team in March of 24. No. Sorry. I joined in the CSI team in March of 23. So like 2 weeks after I officially joined and everything, they sent me to a week-long basic crime scene training. And it basically was just kind of a refresher from everything I learned in high school, everything I've learned here at Missouri Southern, photography, basic blood spatter, basic trajectory, sketching, all of that kind of stuff. We did that. We did do casting, and that was really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What'd you cast?
A shoe print.
Wow. I want to do that. I want to do that with like tire tracks. That'd be fun.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to create tire tracks to do.
I want to learn how to do it in the snow.
Sorry.
Ooh, actually, yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah. Very useful. Because I know nothing about that.
Yeah.
We need snow.
Yeah. We need a lot of snow.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go to Alaska. I'll let y'all know.
Have you ever been to a call out?
Yeah, I've been to just one, unfortunately. But since I've joined, we've only had just now 5 call-outs. So there's not a whole lot that we get called out to. I think the general policy is if it takes 2 officers more than 2 hours, then they call crime scene. and the officers kind of don't really take their time like they should.
So, like, the officers are investigating the scene?
A lot of times, so, like, if it's a robbery,
Right.
say, like, someone robs a gas station, the officers will respond, make the scene safe and everything, and then they'll just take general pictures and be like, all right, if you have any questions. So they don't call crime scene out for that when we could be getting more evidence. It's something I've brought to their attention, like, a couple times now, and they're working on getting us to more important scenes like that.
That's good. You'd think that they would have more investigators. But
Yeah.
especially for a robbery.
You would think.
Yeah.
And then the second CSI training that I've been to was back in November of 24. It was called Advanced Crime Scene Training 1, and we went over in depth on blood spatter, semen processing, officer-involved shootings, and mass shootings. And it was a 3-day training. No, sorry, 4-day training. My apologies. And the first day we did blood spatter and we used luminol. So when we did blood spatter, we used luminol and we did presumptive testing to find out if it was even blood to begin with. And then we did confirmatory testing to make sure it was human blood. And then we practiced how to collect it, how to photograph it, just things like that. And then the second day we did sexual assault and semen testing. That was a rough day. But we did this basically the same thing. Like, we processed a couple mock scenes, learned how to use ASL to detect these things, did presumptive testing to see if it was seminal fluid, and then did confirmatory tests to make sure it was seminal fluid and not vaginal fluid, vomit, feces, urine, stuff like that.
What was your favorite part about your training?
On the first training, my favorite part was probably the fingerprints, because I do really enjoy testing for fingerprints and collecting fingerprints and learning new ways and about different fingerprints themselves. But on the second training, I really, really enjoyed blood spatter. It was really cool to see that you could do confirmatory type tests in the field. I mean, you still have to send it to the lab and get it tested by the lab and everything, but to make sure that you're not wasting the lab's time and double checking that it actually is positive for human blood was really cool.
How often do you train?
So the 2 trainings I just told you about were specialized trainings that the sheriff's office paid for me to go. But we do in-house trainings every month-ish. And we do a variety of things. So one training we learned how to drive the van, and then a different training we did fingerprints, and then another training we did ASL, alternate light source. We work on photography a lot because it's one of those skills where if you don't use it, you lose it. Because there's so many small things to go through and remember how to do every time. It can be really difficult. So we always do that almost every training, every month. But that's just in-house training. And then we have a couple big trainings a year.
Nice. Besides fingerprinting, what's your favorite thing to do on the scene?
I do really enjoy photography. But I also really enjoy collecting evidence. Mm-hmm. So it's probably a toss-up between the two. I mean, a lot of times I get to do both. Yeah. So depending on how many people are there, we will get to do photography, and then after you photograph it, you collect it. Mm-hmm. Or just something along those lines of that. I think that's really cool.
Are your teams normally small?
So I believe we have somewhere around 10 or so people on the CSI team. It might vary a little bit because I don't have the list in front of me. So it's kind of just whoever can go, can go. For example, when we processed a car, there was like 8 people there, which was so many.
Yeah.
But when we had a double homicide last year, there was like 3 people.
Oh my god.
Wow.
So it kind of just depends on who can go and who can't.
Mm-hmm. Are the jobs like divvied up on the scene?
It's kind of whoever wants to take what.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the last scenes I went to was a shooting in a car, and we had one photographer because it was just easier that way, and we didn't need multiple photographers. And then we had 3 or 4 people searching after the overall pictures were done and the close-ups, or the mid-range and close-ups of what was on top. And then we did more searching and stuff like that. So I helped with searching on that portion of it. And then I helped bag evidence and then write an evidence log. And then I went home. Usually we would go back to the lab and process the scene, or process the evidence there and put it into the
Mm-hmm.
system and send it off to the lab that way and make sure everything's bagged properly. However, that when we went to that scene, I had just got done working 12 hours on nights, and then I had 4 hours, and then we went to the scene for 4 hours. And then I was like, can I go home? I have to work in another 4 hours on nights again for 12 hours. They were like, yeah, go home.
Yeah.
Go.
Is the CSI process like in actual scenes like similar to how we do it here at Missouri Southern?
Yes. Except we have responding officers, and it's the deputies who respond to the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they determine, oh crap, we need to call out crime scene, they will send over a search warrant to the prosecutor or to the judge. And then the judge will sign off on the search warrant, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
And then they call us out.
Okay.
So we don't get called out until the warrant is signed. And then they already have the perimeter blocked off with tape and everything. So we don't ever put up tape. We don't take down tape. We don't do a entry and exit log. Deputies do that.
Oh.
We just go in, we take pictures, we sketch, we collect evidence, we go back to the lab, process said evidence, whatever needs to be done to it, and then we package it up, and then our evidence tech sends it to the lab.
What are your goals for your career after the police academy?
I would like to be an on-the-road deputy, but I still would like to be part of the crime scene team. That's one of the selling points of why I stayed at the sheriff's office. One, because I was kind of already in there, and I just had to send an email saying, hey, can I go to the police academy? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. So that was really nice. No interview or anything. And I didn't have to start somewhere brand new and learn everything again. But also the other selling point was staying on the CSI team. Mm-hmm. So I'll graduate the academy and I'll have to go back to the jail for like a short period of time until a spot on the road opens up, which usually doesn't take very long. So then when a spot opens up on the road, I'll go work on the road and then still be a part of the crime scene team. The only unfortunate part is I can't do anything crime scene related while in the academy.
Aww.
But it's okay.
But you get to shoot guns.
That's true.
I might
That's
edit
true.
that out.
How long does the academy take?
It goes from July 14th to middle of December.
That's about 6 months.
Yeah, like 5.5.
Well, Zoe, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. It was lovely hearing about your job endeavors, and I wish you good luck at the police academy.
Thank you for having me. I hope I do great.
You will.
I'm going to try.
You will.